maybe we could start with the fact that not only have the translators changed many words in the Bible and added words and taken words out and changed words, but one thing that is responsible for much of the trouble that's going on in the world right now, in every country in the world, is that the word Jew is not in the Bible, nor is the word Gentile. The translators have added those words. The word is either Judean or Judahite or Yehudi in Hebrew, which does not mean Jew. It is not an ethnicity. The difference, the Bible clearly tells us that the difference between the Judeans and the nations, which is the real word that's been mistranslated, Gentiles, was whether they worshiped the true God or whether they worshiped many pagan gods. The Judahites and the Judeans were the ones either from the tribe of Judah or that worshiped the God who was in the temple in Jerusalem, which was in Judea. And they were called Judeans or Judahites, or in the Hebrew, Yehudi, which is a variation on the word Jehovah, because there was no J in any language until about the 13th century. And so this was a designation of who they worshiped and not an ethnicity.
Not all of a sudden. It's been a few hundred years, right?
The King James Version was written in 1611, and that's when the major change was made. And instead of Judean and Judahite, the word was changed to Jew. The word nations is sometimes actually translated correctly, but and in other parts it's translated heathen, which means non-believer in the true God, and that is also correct. But then they call it Gentiles. What they have done is they've taken a form of worship. In other words, do you worship the true God or do you worship multiple pagan gods? That's what the word Judahite or Judean or Yehudi means, that you worship the true God. And the word nations or heathen means you worship many pagan gods. So it was a form of worship. But what the translators have done is they've changed it into a supposed ethnicity, as though there are ethnic Jews and ethnic Gentiles. The Old Testament Israelites were not Jews. The Old Testament Israelites were just people. And in fact, when they came out of Egypt in the Exodus, the Bible tells us that they were a mixed multitude. They were not Jews. So the present-day Jews, those who call themselves Jews, have no relationship at all to the Old Testament Israelites and have no right to the land of Palestine, none at all. The present-day Jews, as you well know, are actually of Gentile, if you will, origin. They are barbarian Mongol Turks who accepted the culture and religion of Judaism in about the 8th century. So the present-day Jews, the people who are occupying Israel, have no right to be there. And the whole idea that they are the chosen people is baloney. It has nothing to do with that. Jesus was not a Jew. Almost every religion believes that Jesus was a Jew. An ethnic Jew, he was not. Not only that, the Jews of today say if your mother was a Jew, well, then you are a Jew. But Jesus had lots of non-Israelites in his lineage. Rahab was a Canaanite. She was not an Israelite primarily. Ruth, who married Boaz, was in the line of Jesus, and she was not an Israelite. So this whole idea of confusing everyone in the religious world into thinking that the present-day Jews are somehow the offspring of the Old Testament Israelites is the biggest con game of all time. It's even probably bigger than the Federal Reserve con game, because it is responsible for almost all the wars in the world. Because who's behind all the wars?
Exactly, one particular group.
Right, one particular group. And so when you start looking at that, and this is not, you don't have to be a Hebrew scholar or you don't have to be a Greek scholar to figure this out. All you have to do is either go on the internet and get an interlinear Bible, which has the Greek and the Hebrew and right below the English, and it shows you what these words mean if you have a concordance. And so all you have to do is look these things up. It's very clear there. And in the interlinear Bible, they'll have on the left side, they'll have the literal translation, and on the right side, they'll have the King James translation, and you can see in many instances where they actually change it, such as Jesus was not resurrected on Sunday or the first day of the week. Jesus was resurrected on the Sabbath, and the Bible tells you what day the Sabbath was. The Sabbath was Saturday. That's when the Pharisees were angry at Jesus for healing on the Sabbath and for them taking grain out of the field on the Sabbath, because the Pharisees accused Jesus of breaking the Sabbath. And so you can see on the left-hand side in the literal version, the word is Sabbath. And then they change it on the other side to first day of the week.
Wow.
So you can see this. It's amazing what they have done.
And you say that Jesus was not a Jew, and you mentioned Ruth, and she was a Moabite, I believe.
Right.
And yes, well, so that kind of is indicative that he did have other bloodlines, other tribes.
Well, the other ones, yeah, but see, again, he wasn't a Jew. He was a Judahite because he was from the tribe of Judah.
Oh, okay.
All right? He was a Judahite, but he wasn't a Jew. There is a difference between a Judahite and a Jew. They have shortened it to make it into an ethnicity. A Judahite wasn't even an ethnicity. It was the tribe that you were from. It's sort of like if you were born in Riverside County or Hennepin County, that's the county you were born in, but that doesn't make you a different ethnicity.
All right, so you're referring to the 12 tribes of Israel, and of which
Right.
Judah was one of the sons.
Right, but see, all of the 12 tribes of Israel, by today's religions, were considered Jews. But they weren't.
I don't know how they come up with that. I've always kind of wondered about that.
Well, that's because they consider the word Israelite synonymous with Jew. But it was not. You see, when Jacob, here's the thing, you have to say, well, who was the first Jew? Well, they say, well, Abraham was the father of the Jews. Well, Abraham was a Babylonian. He came from Ur the Chaldees, which was Babylon. And so he came to Canaan. Well, he was a Babylonian who came to Canaan, which was a pagan nation. That didn't make him a Jew. All right? Sarah was from Babylon. She came to Canaan. They were just people. And so they were Babylonians. They came to Canaan, and then they had a child named Isaac. Well, Isaac was just the son of two Babylonians. He wasn't Jewish. And then Isaac had twin sons, Jacob and Esau. Well, Esau has never been considered a Jew, all right? Because only Jacob was considered a Jew. Jacob's name was changed to Israel when his character changed, because Jacob means supplanter or deceiver, and when he finally gave up a life of deception where he had deceived his father and he had deceived his future father-in-law and all that, he then decided to give it up because he was reaping what he had sown. His father-in-law deceived him and gave him the wrong woman for his bride, which was Leah, who was the sister of the one he wanted. So anyway, he gave up his life of deception. And so when he fought with the angel said, because your character has changed, now you are one with God, I am going to change your name to Israel. All right? His genes didn't change, only his name and his character changed. So from then on, the ones who worship the same God as Jacob now worshipped, whose name was changed to Israel, were called Israelites. All right? It was not a genetic thing. It was only a character thing. If you worship the true God, then you were an Israelite.
All righty. And Jacob had something like, 4 wives, and his children were conceived with those 4 women, not all
yes, he had
one woman.
He had 2 wives and 2 concubines, and the children were the concubines and the wives. All right,
Right.
But the thing is, not only were his family called Israelites, but all those who worshiped the same God were also called Israelites. The point being that an Israelite was one who worshiped the true God, and that was called a Judean or a Judahite because Jesus was from the tribe of Judah, and so they were Judahites if they worshiped Jesus. Now you say, well, Jesus hadn't come to earth yet. But it was the Israelites were not Jews, they were Christians. They did not practice Judaism. Judaism did not start until after Jesus was crucified and resurrected, when the Pharisees who called for his death actually wrote down the oral traditions, and it became the Talmud. The Israelites were actually Christians because they were looking forward to Christ the Messiah.